Welcome to Halfway Runways, Megan.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Because I remember sitting in your office one day and saying that we should start a podcast. Do you remember that?
I do remember
And then
that.
you were like, "Oh, I was already on one."
Yeah.
But we can start where we were just talking before how we first met.
When you were mean.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was horrible. I look back on that time and it was like gut wrenching about how. But it like to my own defense, I was coming off of probably my worst drug run I've ever had in my
You
entire
were
life.
in rough shape.
Worst 6 months of my life.
Yeah.
And stepping in there, it was not it was not pretty. I was just so destroyed from a life that I had built. Like for having 4 years sober and building this life and then struggling through to sitting in your office and I couldn't even look at you.
I
Well, first I
remember.
wouldn't even come in the office. I sat in
You
the
wouldn't
front.
you wouldn't come back and you would not make eye contact.
I couldn't. There was just so much shame. I could not look up at you. I couldn't look up at anybody. And then yeah, it the amount of like weight that was on me of just destroying this life that I thought I created and then just going through a crazy 6 months and then never thinking that I would ever step foot into rehab again because I tried so hard to never do that.
Yeah.
And then sitting across from you and geez, it was I so thank you. Thank you for the multiple times that you pulled me out of the gutter after that.
Yeah. Well, I just remember like talking to you before you came and then getting texts from everyone at work saying this guy will not come back. He won't talk to anyone. He's being nasty. And I
Oh,
was like,
because I went to the house first.
no, no, this is when you just came to clinical. They were texting. You wouldn't even go back and start your process at clinical.
Oh. When I wouldn't leave the front office,
You
like
would
the
not leave
front
the front
lobby.
couch. You were stuck on the couch, and then you would like get up and go in the lobby. And so they're like texting me, and it was like, we don't think that he's going to be able to stay. And I'm like, that's my type of person. Like, I'll be there. And I was
And
just
then I
so
booked a plane
excited.
ticket home.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
And then I had no way of getting there, but I
No,
did it.
no,
I
but
was
you
trying to
stayed.
figure it out.
You stayed.
Yeah, but then I
And you
still
did
wasn't
it.
very nice.
You know what? It only took you a couple days to come back to me. And
Well, it's a weird thing to be sitting there and then like get hit with the reality of, okay, like, do I want to be so? How can I get out of this situation?
right.
And my best way out of the situation was, I just need to like do whatever the hell they're going to tell me to do.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to be sober. That was the thing. I wanted so badly to do it, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it the way I did it in 2016. I
Right.
didn't.
You wanted
I
to like
thought I was
cherry pick.
fine, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and I don't do that anymore, which is nice,
That's
and
what we were
that's
just
why I
talking
think I'm still
about.
sober
It is
today.
why you're still sober.
But the multiple relapses, like there was from when I saw you, it took like another year and a half to like get to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Because I tried to cherry pick over and over. It was like I share my stories now at like rehabs and meetings. It's like every time I can share or like at whatever rehab around here, I say that same thing. It's the exact same pattern. I'll download a dating app. I'll like pretend to be sober. I'll go to meetings for two to three a week, and then like get a sponsor. I'll work the steps, but not really. I'll do like the certain motions I'm supposed to do, and then I'll
Right.
download the dating app.
The
And like,
dating app in you is not a good mix.
no, it's not.
I just
It's just,
remember coming here and like that was how it started when your parents
oh
had
yeah,
me come here
yeah.
for
That
the
was a
one
wild run
relapse.
too. After that,
That was the stories you were telling me. I was like, oh my God.
yeah, I'm
But
embarrassed
it
about that
started
on the dating app.
with you downloading a dating app.
And this is it. It's not the dating app. I don't touch them anymore, but it's just the like the little pieces that get me back to relapse.
Right.
As like it knows that once I do this, a little bit of darkness gets in, a little bit of
Yep.
darkness gets in, and then I'm off to the races again.
Yeah. It's the patterns.
But I want to talk about with you one Grace project. You said you're still doing that, right?
Still doing Grace Project.
Kensington, and then something we were discussing upstairs a little bit, like the rehab industrial complex.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the rehabs today are not the same that they were 10, 15 years ago.
It's not. There's a lot of not so great places.
But
There's
you've been in treatment center since you were how long? How old?
working or going to treatment.
Going to treatment.
19, and I was in 71 of them as a client.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? 71 inpatients?
71 inpatients. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't complete them all. The reason that I was in so many is because I would just I'd go in and then I would start getting sick, or like I would start feeling feelings like you talked about, that guilt and shame, and like not being able to look people in the eyes. That was me. So I didn't like the way that felt, and then I would run. So I only completed 6 out of 71.
Where'd you run to? Like you would leave an inpatient, like a residential,
Yeah.
and you'd run
Kensington.
away in Kensington.
I would run to Kensington.
Oh, and how long would you stay in Kensington for?
It was always different. Might be like a week or two, might be like a month or two. Then I would like go home because like I always thought mom wasn't going to kick me out until she did. But yeah, it was like this vicious cycle. And then if I was so I started going to other states for treatment centers, and then I would just like try to find somebody who knew like where to get drugs, and
It's
then
easy.
I would convince, like horrible, convince them to leave with me, and then end up being homeless in those states. So it was just like that was my thing. I would leave treatment, find the worst hood I could possibly find, and be homeless there, do drugs.
So like I know these parts of your story, but I don't know really too much of the details of your story.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what's weird. The drug addicts today are not the drug addicts that were 30, 40 years ago.
No.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like 70s, 80s, 90s, and then to today, it's drugs are so easy to get.
Yeah.
Like if it finds it hard, I don't understand why.
I
You
don't
give
either.
me
So
30
easy.
minutes,
I'll find
I'm
drugs
fine. I can find every single one
no
too.
matter where I'm at.
And I know exactly, like I can have 0 numbers in my phone,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden I can have 15 numbers in my
Yep.
phone within 30 minutes. It's insane, and that's why I'm okay with what's going on, like in Mexico right now. Do you see what's going on there?
No, what's going on? I'm
Well,
so out of the loop since having a baby. I don't watch anything, any news or anything like that. I know nothing right now.
the cartels have been labeled as terrorist groups,
Oh,
so we can go into Mexico and start fighting them, possibly.
really?
Oh, you haven't heard about
I
this?
know, I'm telling you, I haven't. I am so out of the loop. I'm in a newborn bubble right now where
Yeah.
it's just like work and my baby. That's it. I don't know
So
anything else.
during the last presidency of the Mexican presidency, I think it was 31 of the candidates were murdered. And dude, this is wild if you don't know about this
I
stuff.
do want to know.
So there's different candidates in office right now in Mexico. There's ones that the cartels have put in there, and then there's ones who are trying to fight for Mexico. There was like kerfuffle that happened
Kerfuffle.
like 2 3 days ago where they got into a fist fight in their, I guess, parliament. I don't know. No, there's a president or whatever that is. Like, but there was an actual fist fight that happened, and it's between the cartel individual, and then the person who wants the best for Mexico. But now that they're labeled a terrorist group, we can we can go in and send our own troops in there.
Wow.
But Mexico's not very, the president of Mexico is not very happy about it right now.
I would imagine he wouldn't be.
I know it's a she.
She,
Yeah. And
we have a female president.
yes, but if you look up how she got into power, it's most likely because she was put in there by the cartels. So she
Uh,
weirdly is pissed off that we might go in there and try to help them out.
Got it. I do like that it's a female president, though. That's pretty cool. Not how she got there or anything else, but
Yeah, but and a female president of Mexico,
yeah.
like this cartel run state or country,
Yeah, that's
it's wild. But okay, so when it comes to Kensington, you obviously lived there, visited there many times.
visited there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The first time I went there, I had no idea I was in Kensington
Yeah.
because I was living in Florida for years, right?
Mhm.
So when I came back, I that after you came to visit to get me to treatment and then back to Promon, I was in Kensington. I had no idea I was there for
Yeah. Yeah.
several days. I just didn't know what Kensington was. The way that I saw it, it was just zombies walking around, but it's not completely like that.
No. And what's crazy, like I was also like I was addicted to Kensington because and it's changed a lot like because of the drug supply and like, people say zombies, but it's because people are under the influence and they're falling asleep standing up or they have the open wounds or whatever it may be, but it wasn't it's always since I've been going there, it's always been an open air drug market, but with the drug supply, like it's continued to get worse and it's been harder for people to get off the streets. So since I've gotten sober, what I've seen out there is just it progressively getting worse and worse.
It's getting worse still.
Yes.
I thought they were cleaning it up.
That is not true. That is
So
definitely not
from
true.
how long ago did you start the Grace Project?
So I had a year sober, so a little over 5 years ago, because I got a little over 6 years sober now.
So you started pretty much immediately.
Yeah, I started like I want to say a couple weeks after I celebrated a year.
And have I heard the story that your mother used to go into Kensington looking for you?
Yeah.
That's
She would also pull my phone records and call numbers. So she would like call drug dealers and be like, "Where's my daughter?" Yeah, my mom went through a lot while I was out there.
it's so weird because when you're in it, like when we're in our disease, like we're not. I'm not thinking about like who's looking for me.
Not at all. Or even like how bad it was out there and why like she was so worried because it was normal to me. Like I said, I was addicted to it. Like I couldn't wait. This even the smell of Kensington used to excite me
Oh,
because
for
like it has
sure.
a distinct smell, and like I loved it, and I didn't understand like
Oh, I loved what I
yeah
was doing too. There was this feeling that I would get like when I would go on a run
yeah
and I knew the places I was going and it was this dark underbelly of the world
hmm
that I would enter. It was almost like a vortex. All of a sudden I
yeah
was inside of it and I was still operating in this world. I call it the upside down,
yeah
like in
yeah
Stranger
literally
Things.
yeah
Because you're still operating around like everybody else,
hmm
but you're just in these weird little pockets, and then all of a sudden you're coming out of it, and you're in this
yep
weird little pocket again. And it was this rush, and it is gigantic. This
yeah
underbelly is huge. It's insane that, like, I could point cops around and be like, "It's here, it's here, it's here, it's
hmm
here." Like, why aren't you guys doing anything? Why do I know about this and you guys don't?
yeah.
But they do, you know. And I can see getting addicted to Kensington because it's weird. You almost kind of feel like a little safe in a
That's what
weird
it
way.
was. It was like and being homeless in other states, like I don't know. I like craved being homeless in Kensington. Like it sounds so weird, but like it was
Not to me.
just yeah. I mean, people that like haven't been through it or like experienced that world would be like, why would you want to? Because they'll drive through and that's what they see is like, okay, this is, just people falling over or, it's like what is appealing about this place? But when you're in it, it's like, I felt accepted there and I didn't
Yeah.
really feel accepted anywhere else. I knew that I could just be who I was and like other people got it and like it was just I don't know, it was so bizarre. And like I went through some crazy things out there and like, I just but still I couldn't stay away. I still can't stay away. I just go back on
Yeah,
the
it's
other
kind of
end
weird.
and try to show people that like there is actually a better life out there,
So day one, stepping back into Kensington after having a year plus sober,
Yeah.
what is that? You smell it,
Yeah.
right?
It was bizarre. I didn't go the first time by myself, obviously, and it wasn't with Grace Project the first time. It was actually to visit somebody that had helped me while I was out there. And I brought a friend that's in AA, and she went with me, and it was just it was so crazy because back then, like there was still a lot of people that I was homeless with. So like as I'm driving, I'm seeing all these
Right.
people that I knew, and I'm like, trying to stop and like talk to them, and over the years, I don't see them anymore. Whether they're dead, they got sober, they're in jail, I don't know. Um, but it was just this very like crazy feeling, and like it like I don't know, my heart was aching because I'm looking around at all these people that like I know from when I'm out there, and I know their
And they were
stories,
still in there?
and they're still there, and like I just want to like take them and be like, come on, like
Yeah, but they don't want to be taken.
right, I know.
It is when you're in that and you see
I
somebody,
didn't want to be taken.
hell no. When you're like still out there and you see somebody else, like, in your shoes that had gotten sober and they would come up to me and like they would look different, they feel different. It's almost like I didn't believe it.
Yeah,
It's like I didn't know who they were.
right.
I didn't want to be taken out, and that's why I don't know if I could go into Kensington
It's
and like
hard.
try to help
It's hard.
people out.
It's just about consistency. So, like, one of the things that I'm very adamant on with my volunteers is like, we don't push treatment or anything like that on people. Like, we're just out there to show them love and like show them that there's a different life that's available if they want it. And we're consistent. So, we're out there every single week. And usually, it might be okay, they're a little bit interested, but they're still kind of hesitant. And then eventually, like, they get to a place where they're like, okay, help me. But the whole reason of us being out there isn't necessarily to take people and pull them out. It's to try to recreate what happened to me that finally got me off the streets. And that was just somebody showing me kindness and like restoring a little bit of hope and making me feel like a human. So we're just out there to like humanize people and let them know like we see them. And, when they're ready, we're there, but if they're not ready, we're gonna meet them where they're at, and that's okay.
I don't know. Was there a group out there when you were sitting in Kensington, like in your addiction? Was there groups out there doing what you're doing?
Not exactly what we're doing. There's groups out there and there's people that would like give out food. So to an extent, yes. But I think all of us have our own little like there's differences between all the groups that go out there. We're all there to help people, but the way we do it or whatever is a little different. So there was definitely groups that would come out and bring food, and it meant the world to me. I looked forward to them being out there, and there's a couple that like stuck out in my mind. And even like the one person I went back to go visit with my friend, that was somebody who it wasn't a group, but it was like a resident out there that would just help me. So it made a difference to me. Doesn't necessarily make a difference to everybody, but I just, I know what my experience was in that. Um, like there was also groups out there that would like push like, God or push going to rehab or what, and those were the ones I ran away from.
Oh, for
Stay
sure.
away from me. I want
Absolutely.
no parts of that. But the ones that were just genuinely there to say like some nice words and give out food or, give us fresh socks, I loved them. And for those like couple minutes that I would interact with them, I felt like a person again. Because other than that, I just felt like I was like this insect. Like people were just kind of, if I went to stores, like looking at me funny and, but yeah, it made a difference to me.
That's the thing. Like, you're feeling like an insect. Like, that shame
Yeah.
is there when you're in that, and then all of a sudden you can like run back to Kensington. Like, that shame kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Channel Five Andrew Santino?
Yeah.
Oh my God, on Kensington, watch it. 100% watch it. Do you know who Andrew Santino is? He goes into like he went into like San Francisco, other
Okay.
places. He just interviewed Hunter Biden. You haven't seen that?
Haven't seen it.
Okay, so
I
Hunter
told
Biden.
you I'm in a bubble right now.
Okay, you
I
definitely are.
watch cartoons and that's it.
He interviews Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden pretty much gives you the recipe to crack cocaine. He tells you how it's really not that bad for you. It's
Oh,
actually the
no.
health. It's healthy for you, and
Stop.
that by cooking cocaine into crack, it gets out all the impurities and how crack cocaine's. And he's like, I don't really want to promote crack, but it's wild.
Oh my God.
But Andrew Santino goes into Kensington, and
Behind that, make sure to blast a picture of me when I was on a crack
oh
and
my
what that
God,
did for me. Yeah, and
isn't
how
that?
healthy it was. I was disgusting.
I know I've seen pictures,
Yeah.
but the day you came here, I looked in the mirror after that like 6 day. It was a 6 day run.
Yeah.
After from Promont before I went to Dream Life, and I wish I took a picture. My voice was like,
Your voice was bad. There was no
oh my
voice.
God.
It was like gone.
I was awake for 6 days,
Yeah, I remember.
and
You were in rough shape when I came.
I somehow I got on 4 different airplanes in that 6 days. I got I don't know how, but I got on 4 different airplanes, and I was in 5 states in 6 days.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was in Florida, Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and like Maryland.
Wow.
Oh no, New York, not Maryland. I was in New York.
Just traveling all over the
I
place.
don't know how I got to where I was going,
Yeah,
but
you
I
were.
don't know where I was going, but I was getting there for sure.
Yeah.
But Andrew Santino talks. He goes into Kensington, and first he walks around with like this tie on, and like everything's like he's very like not put together, like unkempt, and just starts interviewing people, and finds his way into like the trank dealers, and then they all have masks on, and they're like explaining how they're getting their drugs, and it's coming from China and Mexico, and how there's no such thing as gang warfare anymore in Kensington. It is these different hits. They'll get like a text on their cell phone, and it'll say whatever the hit is, and it's not a gang warfare. It's coming from either finds out that Mexico's bringing in the drugs that they're bringing in, and then these hits happen. But he goes in depth into what Kensington's like. You should really watch that.
I'm gonna watch it. You have to send me the
I
name.
will.
I'm gonna forget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird that you've been living in this bubble. You don't know
I,
about
I'm it,
that
it's
one. Came out
such a
like
bubble.
a
You
year or
never heard
so
about the
ago.
newborn bubble?
No,
It's a real thing.
no, I haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, but
Is
you like
TJ in it?
hear about TJ's somewhat in not as much as me. Like the moms fall into it a lot more. But like, yeah, he's in it. Like, prime example, completely off topic. TJ doesn't watch cartoons. He was never like a cartoon kid. So the other night we put on Ferdinand. It's like
I
about a
don't know.
bull. And we just put on like all these different cartoons because she like watches TV now and like gets excited. So we put her to bed and I tried to turn it off to put like real TV on, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm like changing the movie." He was like, "I was watching that," and then goes into like this
Oh
whole
shit.
monologue about like what was because I wasn't paying attention of like what was going on. So yeah, it's a real thing.
Well, I know about this. Like my buddy who had a baby like 2 years ago, he did the exact same thing. And then it was all about like Miss Rachel and all
Oh,
these other people.
I know every single Miss Rachel song already.
I mean, even talking about this, you have a baby now, is it 6 years sober?
6 years. Yeah, I just in July I had 6 years.
What I don't think people understand too is like you're one use away from going back to
Oh yeah.
exactly where you were.
Oh yeah.
And like and how quickly it happens, how
Hmm.
rapidly it happens. Like that's why, again, sitting in your office that day, it was like, I built this life.
Right.
And then boom, all of a sudden I was back out there and worse
Yeah.
than I could have ever imagined.
It's crazy, and that's the thing, like, because I feel like people get some time and, like, they get kind of like, they start underestimating, like,
Oh
the
yeah.
power of our disease, and, there's been a couple times where, like, I still thoughts will pop up, and granted, they're just, like, a fleeting thought, but, like, if I stop doing the things that I have to do, I could pick up and, like, it would be horrible. It would
Oh
be absolutely horrible, like, I'm never gonna be immune to it, and that's one of the things too, like, working in treatment and seeing people like in the beginning stages and like having them ask, like, is this something that I have to deal with for the rest of my life? And I'm like, yes, but like, I don't really like the term deal with. Like, it's something that you embrace. Like, I embrace it at this point. Like, I'm proud to be in
yeah.
recovery, I know that I have to like watch certain things that like other people might not have to, and like I just embrace it like it's part of my truth. And I realize that like I have to do things a little bit differently, but if I don't, like I'm right there.
Yeah, it's not a bad life.
No,
It's a
it's a
wonderful
really
life.
cool life.
Yeah.
It's like better. That's the thing. Like I like it better than my life before ever, like, even when I was like in high school before I was addicted, like, and I was partying. Like, I like this. I'll take this life over any of my other lives that I've lived at this point any day. I
Yeah.
love it.
And it's not even just staying away from the drug, right?
Right.
It is like this person that you become
Yes.
through Alcoholics Anonymous
Yes.
most of the time, right? Because that's how most of us
Yeah.
get sober these days. But that person that I really didn't feel comfortable with at 16
Right.
years old, like I understand now why
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
feel
like I get
comfortable.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so it's like I can stay away from the drug and like that because that's what people see.
Mhm.
And but now it's like no, 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 like that's just a very small
It's
amount.
the smallest part. Like the program is what changes somebody, and like the program is for me. Like it was cool, like, being able to put down drugs, but, like, when I started, like, going through my steps and as time went on and I started seeing the change in my, because I remember I was sitting at the, table in the recovery house, and I was taking this temperament quiz for, when I got back into college, and I just started, like, bawling my eyes out because I was like, "Oh my god." Like, I couldn't believe the way I was answering the questions then, because I was around, like, I think it was right about 9 months, um, compared to how I would have answered them, a year prior blew my mind, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, I'm actually changing." And,
That's
like,
cool.
the results were, you're a caregiver and a rule follower, like, and I was just so blown away because that wasn't me. But, like, when
And a
you
person I
actually
didn't
work
think I'd become.
right. Like, that's what
Yeah,
I like, the last person I thought I would become. And, like, that's the thing, like, sober alcoholics or clean addicts, whatever you wanna call it, like, that work a program are the
yeah,
best people I know.
that worker program.
Yeah. That part.
Because I was really good for like 2 years when I was working the program. I was a
Mhm.
really good person,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I stepped away from the program, and I
Yep.
would these little things would
Little
come back
things.
where it was the ego came back,
Mhm.
right? And I wasn't as good of a person anymore. And then all of a sudden, like that relapse really happened 6 months prior. I watched it,
Yes.
like I look back and I remember being in it going like, oh man, this is probably not that good, but I'm better than this. I'll never
Right.
relapse. I'll never relapse. And then all of a sudden it was, this sounds stupid, but like 50 CBD gummies because I was trying to get high but not get high,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to the program, big proponent of the program.
Yeah.
And now that's why I have an issue with the rehab industrial complex. And that's what Matt and I were calling it the other day.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's completely different. When I went to treatment for the first time at like 17 years old, I it was different. You'd go to treatment and they would set you up to go to AA.
Mhm.
And there was a little bit of therapy, but it wasn't what it is today.
Right.
where I'm gonna go on a little riff of why I feel like I'm upset about
Go
it,
ahead. Go ahead. You're
and
good.
you may not agree with
I
me.
probably won't, but let's
Okay,
say.
you step into treatment centers now, and I'm not saying they're all the same. This is just my experience. It's very therapy based.
Hmm.
Okay, and I'm not anti-therapy. I think it's good, but I don't think
Definitely
it's
good.
good for a lifetime. I don't think it's good for like the long term. I think it's okay to revisit something and take it off the shelf, right?
So
And
you're talking
say,
about like trauma.
if we want to call it that,
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
there's
love that
different
word.
kinds of therapy.
I don't love that word, but because I think it's overused these days.
Mhm. It is.
But in our case, it's cool because we have a lot of trauma,
We do.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of trauma I don't remember though. You know,
That too. Yeah.
it's weird.
Hmm.
Like I think back on some of the stuff and like it'll like a memory will come back. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot I experienced this 3 days on a whiteout because I was awake for three of them, but
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it. But it's this very therapy based program where I don't think the solution is therapy, it could be a piece and a part of it, but I think the solution is in AA. But okay, so I step into treatment centers again, and it was just bringing up this stuff that I thought was pushing me away from my family, pushing me away from friends, pushing me away from people that I think that people that do help me now,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel like it was very AA based.
Yeah.
Where in 2016 when I got sober, it was AA. We went to the treatment center I was in. It was really not a treatment center. It was, we're going to push AA. You're going to work the 12 steps, and then you're going to be sponsoring people in like
Hmm.
3 months. And this is what you're going to do to stay sober. And like 70% of those guys are still sober.
Yeah.
And now it's a completely different model. And it's a 4 week stay here, and then a 6 week stay in a PHP, and then another 3 months or so in an IOP, and then an OP. And I just don't think we're really given that solution of the spirituality. There's, steps 2 and 3.
Yeah. I mean, I agree and disagree in some places. So, um, I definitely think that there's not enough of like AA and 12. Granted, there's all these different pathways, right, and different fellowships. Now, for me, and like from what I see when people actually work AA, NA, CA, whatever it may be, they find their solution. And I think that there's a lot of power in those steps. I get that some people are kind of like about it, but I do wish that more treatment was pushing that, even though a lot of people are like, they're looking for places that don't push it. Um, but I also, so for me, like the last time around, what was different and what got me sober was I did a full continuum of care. Now, why I needed that, because again, everyone's different. I needed space between me and the drug initially.
Okay, I agree with this.
Then I really needed therapy because for me, like a lot of the trauma, the stuff I wasn't dealing with, like it was popping up in other areas of my life. And like it wasn't just my character defects that we work on, right? Like there was reasons behind it that just acknowledging them and like praying them away, it wasn't that wasn't going to work for me. I had to kind of figure out what was going on so I could start changing it. So I actually needed a ridiculous amount of therapy. So I did outpatient alongside like outside therapy with that. Plus, I was working a program. So I just needed a lot. So I think it really just depends. Like, I think it depends on what facility somebody goes into because some of them, there's the reality is there's a lot of really bad treatment centers these days. It's become very oversaturated and a lot of them don't necessarily set people up for success. In more cases, they set them up for failure, and it's like this revolving door. But the good ones, like the actual good ones,
They cost money though. The good ones cost a good amount of money.
they do, and that's the other part. And like getting into the business side of things, like to be able to have it be like individualized and smaller caseloads and stuff like that, like the cost to treat is so high that's why it's like either you need to have really good insurance or you need to like come from money or whatever it may be. And that's the horrible part of it because the state run facilities can't give people the attention that they need in that type of setting. So it's this weird like it's just this weird kind of dynamic that is happening right now, like within treatment and insurance companies and all of that stuff. But it's hard because, like I said, everyone's path is different. And for me, like I'm still in therapy. The steps alone weren't enough for me. They were the biggest part but I needed a little bit more. But that's me.
Well, I think it's that I don't think they've figured out how to do this properly yet because a
I
lot of like
agree.
if it's a state-run place, all of a sudden you walk into this, and and I've been to a couple state-run places, and the person running the group all of a sudden is someone who's only, you know, 6 months, a year and a half
Hmm.
sober, and they're supposed to just run this group because they're unmanned, right? They need
Hmm.
people to do this.
And they don't have the money to pay someone with credentials or
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm listening to this person who's like a year and a half sober, and
Hmm.
they're supposed to be telling me they're like therapy-ing me or
Yeah.
something, where if anything, I'd at least tell me the AA way or something.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the therapy part of it, I just feel like we walk into these places victims.
Hmm.
Because that's what we run on, this victimhood mentality of
Yeah.
woe is me. I use because of this. I use because of you, because of her, because of him, whatever
Hmm.
it is. And then we walk into it, and the therapy kind of, in some cases, at least from mine and what I've seen in other
Right.
cases, not gonna say everyone, but they kind of amplify it, and it's like, oh
Well, and
well,
that I don't like.
I hate it.
Yeah, that I don't like. And again, this is why I think it depends on where you go, who your therapist is, like all of these different things, because like my experience was the opposite. Now, I've also been really lucky that most of my therapists, when I went through treatment, were in recovery. So they had that like AA mentality as well. And like they were actively working programs. And I think that was like a big part of why like it wasn't like, hey, you're like, there was definitely like, yes, like, you have your trauma from this, and like maybe your family wasn't right in doing this in this situation, but like they were doing the best they could, but it doesn't justify you doing X, Y, and Z, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
it does. And well, it's a whole thing where I really struggled with my family at first, as you know,
I know.
and now I have a wonderful relationship with them.
They're
But
amazing.
yeah, they really are
You
amazing
really
human
have an
beings. I
amazing
love them
family.
very much, and no matter how bad I was to them, they were stayed in my
Oh,
corner.
yeah.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and
That was
but
one of the hardest things for me to see. And I remember telling your parents too, I don't know if they've ever like told you this, but telling them like it's not going to happen in his therapy session. Wait till he's going back. Like it's going to happen in his steps. Like
well,
he's going to come around. He's going to realize,
let's do a fourth and fifth step.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you start to realize that everyone that you resented, that
Hmm.
you thought you were a victim to, are actually most likely your victims.
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
that's why I love the first column.
Yeah.
After you do your fourth and you look back on your first and you go, "Oh man, those are actually my
Yeah.
victims. I'm not a victim to them. I
I
hurt
even get
them."
chills like because it's so crazy. Like the mind shift that you get through the steps. Like
Oh, for sure. And then
it's
you do an
wild.
eighth and a ninth. Oh man, I had to do a tough ninth a couple months ago,
Did
and
you?
yeah, and it was wild because I did exactly the way that A is supposed to tells me to do. I made amends and then I shut
Hmm.
the fuck up.
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything, and they had a lot to say,
Yeah.
and I didn't say anything, and they said, "Why don't you say anything?" I said, "I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
Just let me know if I can make amends."
Right. And like leaving the expectation, because for me, like, keeping one of my hardest amends, like I remember calling my sponsor and being like, how am I, like, because, this specific person who was a family member, like, has done X, Y, and Z to me. Like, how am I supposed to make amends with this person? And she was like, so it's not about what they did to you. This is about you clearing your side of the street. Like
Hmm.
you go and you make your amends and see if there's anything else that, the process, right? And and I remember like having to clear that, like, okay, I have to go into this with no expectations that this person A might not tell me like, oh, I forgive you or anything like that. And B, they might not turn around and then say, oh, well, I want to take accountability for this and this that I did. So like just no expectations, only going in there to do what I was supposed to and make my amends. It ended up being one of the most beautiful amends that I made. That person, then, because same thing, it was like, I made my amends and then just sat there and like asking how I can make it better. If there's anything else that I, didn't mention that that caused harm. And this person's response was to then apologize to me and acknowledge a lot of the areas that they fell short, and our
Oh, they did do
relationship.
that.
They did. And
Oh
usually that doesn't happen.
no.
But in this situation it did, and it was just really cool. It was like but I remember it was like that that fear going into it though of Like, how am I supposed to do this and do this genuinely? And it took me a while. That was one of the last amends that I made because it took so long to get to that place where I could do it from like a genuine place. And then, like I said, ended up being one of the best ones. But I think amends are really cool.
Yeah, but then this is where I jump back to the therapy, and I go, that we don't really do this in therapy.
Yeah.
You don't really do a fourth and fifth step. I think it would be fantastic if I sat in I tried to do a fourth step in Dream Life, and they were very against it. And I didn't get a big book in there either, and that upset me.
Yeah.
And I still love that place, by the way. That
Yeah.
place is fantastic. I actually still stay in contact like on a weekly basis with a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing. I wanted because I knew that because I had already got through this and I knew there was a solution. I
Right.
already had felt what it feels like to do a fourth and fifth
Right.
and an eighth and ninth. So I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
This
Like,
will
I
make me
want
feel
this.
better.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, not yet, not yet. I'm like, all right. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, thank you though also because when I eventually get back to Promont, I get a sponsor, and well, same one that I had the first time, but I was able to start going through that process
Hmm.
again. But this is again though, it's therapy. Just it, I am kind of talking crap on it, but at the same time, my sponsor the other day was like, "Do you think I should stay in this place any longer?" And I was like, "Stay as long as you can. Stay as long as you
Yeah.
can." So it's like I'm kind of going back on what I'm saying, but I'm like, if you can get 6 months in this
Hmm.
place, stay. Because to your point, as far away from the drug as you can
Yeah.
get.
And not only that, but like, again, a lot of people, they do need therapy, and it might not be like the path. I personally like, I think everybody can benefit from it. And I think it's sad, like, that if you've had certain experiences where you didn't get what you needed out of it, that makes me sad because for me, like, even just being able to talk to somebody that's unbiased and even also removed from the program sometimes, like, because my current therapist is not in the program. So I don't know, it just gives me this very like well-rounded between like having AA, having a sponsor, having a therapist. Like, I don't know, for me that's what works. And there's a lot of stuff that like I needed that to be able to get through. And like it's helped me to be able to understand other people too. And like why they might be acting a certain type of way. Because like I've done intense therapy, like all different types of modalities. And but like I said, everyone's different and not every therapist is for every person, you know?
Yeah, like I'm not against it. It
Yeah.
helped me out in ways. It really, really did. And I've had conversations with people where I go, oh, you know what, I did do that in therapy, and I
Yeah.
think I can say that now because I went through therapy. But I wish, like, if I was a therapist, I would probably approach it in a little bit of a different way. Like, if someone is doing what I did at one point, being like,
Hmm.
I'm a victim to my childhood, to my circumstances or whatnot, and then they'd amplified it a little bit, being like, yeah, well, maybe you are, and that's why you are this way, and that's why you have these tics, and that's why you respond the way that you respond. And I was like, oh wow, so I'm really fucked up because of this. Like now I feel like a victim.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that anymore. But now I feel like even more of one.
But I don't think they, in my experience with therapy, they don't promote the victim mentality. They just show you that this happened, and then they
Hmm.
work with you to get rid of the
Right.
victim mentality.
Well, that's why I think it benefited me.
But also, like the therapy and rehab and stuff, that's just 30 days, so you can't really
Can't dig in too
get
much.
into anything. Yeah.
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 No, I agree. And that's what I mean. Like I think there is situations where, certain therapist approaches might not work for certain people, but I'm such a big, like, I think everybody should be in therapy. I also think everybody should work the steps, even normies, because I just think it makes you a better person. But I think like tying the two together is really important. So it's not necessarily like a therapist's job to have you like do that's your sponsor's job, right? So like there's different parts of like processing and healing. So I don't know. I definitely I needed it. And like, Matt just said, like, understanding, like, okay, well, because this happened, that's what, because I did TREM, which is a type of trauma treatment. But, because this happened to you, that's why you have this action and not condoning. Because once we got through all of that, then it was like, no, doesn't excuse you doing this, but this is why. And now let's work on it so that you don't do this anymore. And then this isn't holding you hostage anymore.
Maybe I should go back then.
I think you probably should. I mean,
But like,
I think if you went back and you actually finished out the process and got to a point of just maintenance therapy, I think your opinion would change.
okay, maybe because also to like kind of go against what I'm saying, a lot of the therapy that I've had in the last couple of years has been off of the relapses where my mind is not fucking right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I just came off stuff. Like, how am I supposed to talk about any of this?
Hmm.
Like, I'm not even a human being at this point. Like, I'm
Right.
a thing
Yeah.
that's just struggling. Like, it
Yeah.
seriously,
No,
it's
it's hard, and your brain is so fogged up. So I personally think you should give therapy another shot.
maybe. And I think I'll approach it differently.
You would.
Being like, well, I want to try to figure things out. Like, be a little bit, I don't know. Am I allowed to be logical in therapy? Am I allowed
Yeah.
to go in and just be like, all right, well, all right, I get this and get that, but
Hmm.
all right, maybe I should try it out again.
I think you should.
But there's one that I'm gonna, a stance that I'll take that I'm not happy about that treatment centers do today, and it's prescribing medications, over prescribing them, and
Overprescribing, yes.
yeah,
Overprescribing
I'm not,
is
yeah. But when people walk in to these treatment centers and then all of a sudden to get off of drugs and then they leave with 3, 4, 5 scripts, it's like, where did this like it just doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
Again, going back to the point, like, you just came off of drugs. No wonder
right.
your ups and downs are insane.
Yeah, and it's like, there's definitely some medications that are needed, but I do see a lot of overprescribing, not, where I'm at, but like with people coming in where it's like this long list. But I also like, so when I first got sober, I was on medications and I needed them at that time because like we just talked about, my head was all over the place. Like I personally was doing better with having those medications and being able to think clearly and like, talk through things. And then I eventually came off them. Now I'm on nothing.
Oh, good.
Could I benefit from like, being on something like even with the postpartum stuff? I'm sure, but I have like my natural ways, like as far as talk therapy, as far as like having a sponsor, AA, all that stuff. I don't knock people when they do need it, but what's upsetting is when I see like, somebody come into treatment and they have this crazy med list and like a lot of the meds aren't even supposed to be like taken together and nobody's like, having the conversation with them of like, hey, you're on X, Y, and Z for the same exact thing, or these two can counteract each other. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I do hate that. And I do think that that happens a lot. And again, it depends on what facility.
Yeah, like, I obviously I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist or
Yeah.
anything, but I also think that there's you're stepping into treatment. It's like, we got rid of pretty much the root cause of
Mhm.
probably what's causing a lot of this. Like,
Yep.
let's let you settle down for a bit,
Yeah.
and then we'll consider putting you on something like that. Where my experience was they were trying to kind of put us on stuff
They
somewhat too
throw and
soon.
then it's and
And it was like my choice kind of. It was like, hey,
yeah.
do you feel a little bit weird? Do you think you should be
Right.
on it? And it's like, I don't
I was
know.
like, give me everything. I want it
See, I
all.
was the opposite. I never
Oh,
took
I
it.
wanted it all.
Yeah, see,
I
that's kind of
wanted it
fucked
all.
up,
Yeah,
dude.
give me all of it.
Yeah, because we're drug addicts.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
of
that's why I was
course.
like, I don't want to feel anything in the beginning. Like I wanted to feel nothing. So like and I would even like, going because I didn't respond well to any type of like the actual withdrawal medication. So like subs and stuff like that. I typically would do my detoxes without it because it didn't help me. So everything else, I would be like, give me the most that you can. And I would, the anxiety, oh, my anxiety's through the roof. And it was, but like
Oh,
I
for
would
sure.
make it, like I wanted absolutely every possible thing that they could give me so that I felt comfortable. But then, like when you go back through my history of all the medications I've been on, I mean, I've been on so many different things. I was misdiagnosed 1,000 different times. Like, I've been on every possible like bipolar medication. I remember like I was on lithium for a while. I ended up getting lithium toxicity. Seroquel, I was on all different doses, Trazod, like all these different, Wellbutrin, Zoloft, all the different kinds of like mood stabilizers. And um, realistically, like I just needed to get like to a good baseline
Yeah, there's
off of.
nothing like withdrawal anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying like that first week of it, the like first 90 to 120 days, or like,
Yeah.
yeah, that
It's
anxiety is
insane.
insane.
Insane. And
Like,
but I probably like I definitely like I said, I needed something. I didn't need all the stuff that I was on. Um, I don't think I would have been able to get through it without medication in the beginning. Um, but I also, like I said, now like I don't need it. Would it help? Like I'm sure, you know.
But then I feel like if I were to take something, then I'm kind of stuck on it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be stuck on it. Like, am I just feeling this way today, or am I feeling this way
Well, and
this
that's kind
week?
of like with the postpartum stuff, because I was like, maybe I will go on like medication for it for a period, but then like, it's the coming back off of stuff again, and having to like remember to take something every day. And then I'm like, well, then I'm dependent. So it's this weird, like, I'm not against it when people need it. By all means, they need to take it, especially somebody that has like a more severe mental health diagnosis. But it is hard to get a true and accurate diagnosis when somebody's fresh off of drugs because things change and their brain's all over the
No wonder you're
place.
bipolar. No wonder you're manic. No
Yeah,
wonder you're like
exactly.
depressed or
Yeah.
anxious. Like
Yep.
we took away that root cause, and now you're just left like this
Mhm.
ball of energy. You're just shaking. You're freaking out,
Yeah.
and you don't know when it's gonna stop.
Right.
You feel like it's gonna last forever, and you can't sit still, and you can't talk to people, and you can't sit in another freaking group session because you don't like. And you could go to sleep feeling okay that day, and wake up this staticky ball of energy again,
Yeah.
and it's insane until you calm down.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It's a problem that would bother me, and I would refuse to take any medication
Yeah.
because I just felt like if I could just get enough time away from the drug,
Right.
I think I'll settle down. So it's one that bothers me. That's where I think this rehab industrial complex is just way different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's this different model, and I think it's more based on insurance companies.
100%. There's a huge money grab involved in a lot of treatment centers. And, like we just talked about, part of why I chose the facility I'm with is because all of the owners are in recovery, not just in recovery, but they're very active in a 12-step fellowship. They're really good people. I've also worked at treatment centers that, it was me battling the owner for like good client care because that owner only cared about money and making a profit off of these people and didn't necessarily care like what the success rates were because if they relapse, then they're just going to come back to us. And, when I started seeing that, I had to. I had to go, but and I hear stories too. And I've also met people, I've met owners of treatment centers, that they don't care. And there's actually a treatment center that opened recently, and know a lot about the owner and the type of person that owner is. It's somebody that I've has tried to like sponsor stuff for Grace Project in the past, and like friends have told me like, hey, that this person wants, and I was like, no, like I want nothing to do with that person. Um, because it makes me sick. Like, I get that it's also a business. So, it takes money to start it up. They have to make their money back. I understand that part of it. That's just the reality.
And the
Um,
person's sober.
yeah,
Like, when you're sitting there, you're like, I can complain about all these things and money and insurance companies, all this, but like there is points I'd sit and I go, oh, I'm sober right now. Like, I'm not where
exactly.
I was.
Right.
So I am forever grateful for the places that I went to.
But it shouldn't just be about money. People need to stop opening centers that don't actually care about the people that come through them. Um, if it's a tie of both, where it's like, okay, this is what they want to do to make their money, and this is what they want to do as like a business owner, and they're going to profit from it, but they're also going to genuinely care about people, then that's different by
Yeah, I'm
all
not against
means,
you making money off of this. Like, it's
Yeah, but I'm against the people that don't care about the individuals
so
that come through the doors.
if you were to put a model together of what a treatment center should look like, what is it then?
It's where I work now. I mean, that's what they hired me prior to opening, and it's very like, they go to outside meetings. We push the 12 steps. We can't make people do it because then it's just going to turn them off to it. But
Why?
everybody's because if you're forced, it's just like pulling somebody out of Kensington if they're not ready.
Yeah, but like
We expose them to it and we hope that they see, like, but you can't, if you're forcing the 12 steps on someone, are they going to do them honestly and thoroughly?
yeah, but that person, it's like a little seed planted, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I went through like this a little bit, I went through that a little bit, because no one rarely does someone get sober the first time. But if they've had those little seeds
Mhm.
planted, because like for me, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I did this a little bit, and then I did a little bit more the next time, a
Yeah.
little bit more the next time, and then finally I did it. But I was
Hmm.
pushed. But I also, again, wanted to be pushed. The last
Right.
few times I tried to get sober.
And that's the thing, like, those seeds are planted. I'm also very transparent with them about my story. Most of our staff is in recovery. The people that are running groups are in recovery or credentialed. Um, so it's just It's just a really it's a really good facility, and it's very
Is is it in residential? Is it PHP?
it's
What
a
is it?
PHP.
Okay.
Yeah, and IOP. But yeah, and that's the thing. I also love aftercare because for me, like, a detox residential is just like to get you off the drugs. The work actually starts when you're an outpatient. So then they're going to like outside meetings after treatment and stuff like that. But it's just, it's very like, it's just very client centered. Like everything that they want, they get, as far as like their treatment. And what I mean by that, so like when I went through drug court, that's part of how I got, like when we were talking about all the different therapies I did and like, going through all the different levels of care. Drug court got me everything that I needed, everything that I wanted from a treatment standpoint. It was like basically like a one-stop shop with me being a person that was on drug court. If the outpatient that I was in didn't offer it, they were connecting me with the service elsewhere. They were paying for it, whatever it was. It was just this very like holistic approach by being like a participant on drug court, right? So that's always been my thing. Like anywhere that I work, I want it to be like the person can get everything that they need while they're there. So, I tried to do that at the last place that I was at.
You did a good job.
I tried,
You did.
and I think now there's less barriers and it's a lot easier for me to get the things that I ask for the clients because the owners are on board with it too. So it's very similar to what you saw me, try to do it at the last place. I do it even more so at this place.
And then I'd have a tough time in your shoes of being like, do they really need this, or is this person throwing a temper tantrum to try to get like a certain thing? You
Yeah,
know?
well, and that's what like I'm talking like when it comes to, they have something medical going on and, while they're with us, we're helping them to make the appointments and get to those appointments if they need additional therapy. We're helping to either make that happen or having them see multiple therapists with us to focus on different things. Or if like they're in agreement to having an outside therapist that will communicate with us, stuff like that where it's like genuine for their treatment. That's what I mean. Not like they want new shoes or they want satin sheets or, something along those lines, but like stuff that truly is going to help them. Like we had we had a client the other day that wanted Ozempic and I was like, that's you
Oh,
can when you leave here, you can worry about that. So stuff like that, but
that's like see, stuff like that is it's a character defect. Like
it,
we're insecure, right?
yeah,
So of course I want to fix all these other problems
right,
before I fix myself.
right.
Like I want to overexercise. I
Yeah.
was definitely running a lot while I was at your place. But
Mhm.
like I want to fix all these other I want Ozempic, I want to fix
Mhm.
this, I want to fix that, and then I'll feel better.
Right.
But it's not the solution.
Not the solution.
Yeah, which is so I agree with that. Don't go on that stuff until,
Yeah.
figure that out at 6 months.
Right. Get out
Um
of treatment and then if if you want that, but that's what I mean by like just having it be someplace that we can treat everything and like, the gym. That's another example. Like getting a gym membership was one of the, in the beginning like, hey, we need to get a gym membership because the physical aspect of it, yoga, stuff like that. Like some people, yoga is important too. Meditation, like, so just making sure that there's a little bit of everything someplace, and people can really find like what works for them. And then they're actually set up for when they leave. Because for me, like, there's nothing more heartbreaking, even though it's expected, but like
mhm.
you, when you left, right? And then having your parents call and tell me what was going on and then coming here and seeing you in like that state. There's no judgment, but it breaks my heart,
Yeah.
because like I genuinely care about the people that I work with. So, um, my goal is to have that happen as little as possible.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. It was talk about shame too, and then even stepping foot back into that place after Dream Life was that was
Yeah.
so hard to do. I don't know why, but there's just addiction is so wild to me because like even saying that you're giving us different outlets of meditation,
Mhm.
exercise, and whatnot, and like that meditation or yoga or whatever it is that you provide, it may help that one out
Yep.
of 500, but like it's that one person that it
Yep.
helped because our chances are not good.
Right.
They're pretty low.
They're pretty low.
And but it's wild. That's like the craziest thing about this. It takes us a long, long time to recover,
Mhm.
and then we have to maintain, and and no one really understands what the hell's going on.
Right.
Like we don't even know why we are this way.
Yeah. And there's not a one size fits all.
And it's like why if and then all of a sudden we find ourselves back to
Mhm.
drugs, and it's insane. And that's I'm so terrified of doing certain things in my life. Like I won't touch pre-workout.
Mm-hmm.
I won't touch any of these things that I was using before
Right.
that weren't drugs, right? Or like the dating apps. Like I won't touch those things
Yeah.
because I'm so afraid that if once I download that thing or I go and get a pre-work, like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds so, I will not touch a sinus medication.
I barely even will take Tylenol. Like anything that, and Tylenol doesn't even make you feel different like pre-workout does, right? Anything that like I have to put in my body, I'm very hesitant about, or anything that like feels good, like for you, dating apps. You know what I mean? So you're aware of that and you stay away from them.
Like my one relapse, before talking to Matt when he was going to treatment, it was sinus medication.
Mm-hmm.
I'd gotten sick, and I knew that I should not have taken that sinus
Yep.
medication. It was Sudafed D, or Claritin D, one of those, and I knew
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have done it because it has caused relapse before.
Right.
Because it makes me feel like a little
Yeah.
amphetamine type, like up, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. And I drove to that CVS,
Yep.
and I sat in that parking lot just as if I was going to buy something. And I went, I shouldn't be doing this right now. And I did. I walked in there and went, well, it'll be different this time. It was
Mm-hmm.
so weird that it's not one of your, Class A drugs or Schedule
Yeah.
1 drugs, but it was just a medication that other people take and not even think about.
Yeah.
But for me, it flipped that switch.
Yep.
And like 6 hours later, I was going to find something else.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it, and so I
You
can't
knew,
touch.
and you did it anyway, and then it went
It
right
was,
back. Yeah.
but it was. I mean, that's the part of addiction that people don't understand. Like you all of a sudden go on autopilot,
Yeah.
and you like your car just starts driving a direction.
It's
You
that
don't
old
even.
pathway gets lit up in your brain, and
What the
it's
hell is
what
that?
happens, and it's the brain. Didn't I ever have you watch the
Oh God, probably.
Pleasure Unwoven?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, well, I need you to watch
Well, that's
that.
probably why I relapsed.
That it
It's
might
probably
be.
why I did.
But that like just explaining what goes on in the brain, and like cuz I needed to, I'm very logical. So like I
I
had
like
to
that stuff.
understand like why why am I still craving, like when I, things are so bad and I go into treatment because I want to get off drugs, but then like I'm running back to them. Like, what is it? What's going on? And like why, when things are good, if something happens, it like makes me, and then right away that autopilot. And that's one of the best documentaries I've found that can really explain like what happens in our brain. It's a doctor that does it. It's very old and dated, the film quality of it, but it explains it really well.
Have you seen it? Oh, um, see, that's kind of insane. You're kind of saying that someone figured out how our brain works. I mean,
As best as he could. Yeah. Yeah.
oh man, I don't, the obsession of craving is
Hmm.
insane. I don't know.
It's wild.
You can't explain it to anybody.
No.
But it's weird. Even like I was talking to a buddy the other day, and I was telling him how using certain drugs are way different than I'm just gonna say amphetamines to like cocaine, and how wild it. Because we were talking about the guy who originally got us sober back in 2016. He's not doing well, and I
Mm,
wish I could contact him, but no one can get in contact with him. And I
it's
love this
hard.
guy, and he's on meth,
Yeah.
and I was trying to explain to my buddy who I got sober with, but he's never really done meth. And I was like, it's a different one though, man. Like it is, like it's not like where cocaine, you do cocaine and you're like, man, that was a crappy night. I didn't sleep last night. Like where you do meth, you're like, I that was a crappy 3 to 7 days
Yeah.
because all of a sudden it's like a
Meth is
$50 bag.
crazy.
And then I even said it to him. I was like, it was like $50. And all of a sudden you're awake for 3 to 5
Yeah.
days. And he's like, oh, that sounds good. And I was like, dude, but it's like weird how we think that like, oh, that's all it costs and you're up for,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
good.
I remember I had one meth binge when I was out homeless in California after treatment. It was the first time I tried it, and it was like right away off to the races out there. And like that's why like when I came back, I was like, I am not gonna like try to find out where there's meth. Like it was wild and
Oh, you
up
have
for
no idea
days,
where
and
you're
like
going.
the paranoia. Like it was
Oh, somebody else writes your
bizarre.
story and you're the
Yeah,
main character.
it was
It
wild,
is insane.
crazy.
Like from the,
It freaked me out enough that I was like, I got to get back to Pennsylvania and I got to stay away from that stuff.
oh, and I never thought I would touch anything like that.
Me neither. Crack
Never.
too. I was like, I'll never touch crack.
Oh my God.
And
And I
then
touched it.
I touched
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Like
I got
that's a weird one
mad.
too. And
Yeah.
like, but then I think I do a pretty good job of making sure I don't look like the way that I used to look. And if I don't really tell people in my past, like an everyday person, I don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'll talk about it with you, like, like a you or someone in the rooms or whatnot. But if I ever do tell someone, they're like, "What do you mean you did
Yeah.
crack and meth?"
I
And
know.
I was like, "Every day,
Yeah.
like all the time, every day, all
Yep.
day." Like it's insane to think that,
Yeah, and that's
to
the
even
thing,
think
like,
that I did not, I'm the person who did
I,
it.
right. And like even before touching, because I remember like when I had first just like started experimenting with drugs, and it was like Percocets and just like being like wondering, like, because I had dated a kid in high school that was addicted to, so I'm like, what's so great about these things? So it was like a curiosity thing, and I was like, I put myself kind of on this like pedestal, like, oh, I'm too smart to
Oh,
like
for
ever
sure.
become a drug addict, right? And like I come from a good family, and like I just didn't expect it and nobody expected it of me. And then it was like, well, okay, like I'll do this, but like I'm never going to touch heroin
Oh
cuz
yeah,
that's dirty, and like, I'll never use a needle. And like all these things, and then it was, oh, crack is gross, and and it was at a point where like, nobody's above anybody else. Like, where a drug is a drug is a drug, and nobody is more powerful than a drug.
yeah.
So all the things that I was like, no, I'll never do that. I'll never do that, especially when it came to drugs.
And then all of a sudden, I'm using all those in one day,
All of them in one day.
which is, I don't know how I survived.
Not me neither.
Yeah, because it's
I,
all
yeah.
like, it was like, and it's funny how you kind of downplayed Percocets right there. You were
Yeah.
like, I just was only doing Percocets, where they took me out for 7 years.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And like that was the start, like, to where I ended up, because I couldn't stop. Like, that's in my head, I was like, it's just Percocet.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, doctors prescribe these, and that's where like me downplaying it, like, it's just Percocet. Like, a doctor gives you this. It's not heroin. Like, because doctors don't give you meth, heroin, and crack, right? So that's where it was like, I'm thinking it's not a big deal. And like, I'm not going to get addicted. And then that was the first thing that brought me to my knees. Like, it was every single day that I needed it. I started getting arrested and all that stuff. And then, like, it was too expensive. And that's where heroin came into play. And for a while, like, because I was selling heroin to pay for my perk habit, and was
hmm
like, I'll never touch that. Um, because again, like,
hmm
that's dirty. I only do perks. Like, I'm better. You know
yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like, and it's so crazy because and I also like I my fiance, he was prescribed, I think it was oxys. He hurt his back, and like that's what led to his addiction. And then he ended up, on heroin too, and but prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's like and that's the thing, I feel like when it comes to things like Percocets or like anything that a doctor may prescribe, or things like alcohol that is like socially acceptable, those, like, you really don't see it coming.
Well, thank God there's a solution to it,
Yeah.
and it's not really the solution that I wanted.
No, me neither. I
It,
tried every other way except for like the solution, and here we are.
yeah, it's not, because it takes work to do the solution.
Yeah.
It's, you want your way out, that you want is some quick fix.
That's it. Yeah, snap my
And it's
fingers
not
and I'm
like
good.
that. And that's why you need, like, I tell people now, just recover as slowly as
Mhm.
possible. You really need to,
Mhm.
because it's so much more into, and it's you're tricked. You feel like you're tricked at
Yeah.
3 months sober. You feel like you're tricked at 6 months sober, and
Yep.
9 months, and a year, and you're like, I'm fine. Like,
When
I'm
it's so hard
okay.
because we love instant gratification.
Yeah.
We're drug addicts. So to be like have to wait for something to work
But that time,
is
like
so
you said,
foreign for
like
us.
doing a, I don't know if you were talking about the eighth and ninth or what it was, but all of a sudden you get that feeling where you're like, oh, I am changing. Or when you were
Yeah,
sitting in
when I was
treatment,
taking the quiz.
and you're like, oh, I am changing. And that
Mhm.
little feeling it's a really good feeling, where that
That in
little
itself is
weight
like a
goes.
rush. Like, it's
Yeah.
like you're like, "Oh my god," like,
But you're kind of like, I want more.
yeah,
Like, how,
that's
oh,
so that's what it was. And I so at that time when I was taking that quiz, I was around the 9-month mark, right? And like I was in jail first, and then I was in treatment. So I was about 3 months sober when I had gotten to the recovery house. And I like made this deal with myself when I was in treatment. I was like, I'm gonna do everything that's suggested to me for 6 months. And if I still want to get high, I know where the drugs are. Like, they're not going anywhere. And it was sort of like I was doing it out of spite. Like, I'm going to prove to everyone that even if I work all these steps and I do everything perfectly, somebody like me is not going to recover,
six
because I
months is
was
a long
so,
time now.
it's a long time, a long time. And like, but I was convinced there's no way, like, I'm not going to want to stay sober. But I wanted more. I'm sitting on, on the recovery house bed, with somewhere around that same time, it was in that same time frame of when like I took that temperament quiz and I was able to see like, that I was changing, and I realized I had hit that mark. And like, so now here's my 6 month out of treatment mark, or, out of like inpatient. Do I want to go back to using, or do I want to keep doing this? And I just, again, bawling my eyes out because I'm like, oh my God, no, I want this. Like, I want to see like what my life can be. Like, I was craving that inner peace more than I was craving drugs or alcohol. And that was so bizarre to me.
And it's weird because you do feel that feeling, and it's a clean feeling where, like,
Yeah.
if I could put a color on it, it's like white,
Yeah.
right? You're like, oh,
It's
like
pure.
I feel kind of like I sat down with a sponsor the other day and was reading with them, and as I read the first line of, I think it was Doctor's Been In, like this little feeling came over me and went, oh, I'm doing this again.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do this.
Yeah.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, but and it's just this very clean little weight that gets lifted. Even after I did that ninth step with someone, in last month or two, I woke up the next day and I felt just a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt kind of like a good person.
Yeah.
Where, drugs never gave me that feeling of, oh,
No.
I'm a good person. I used to think I was a good person
Right.
until I got sober. I realized I was never a good person
You
doing
were a
drugs.
good person doing bad things because of your addiction.
Well, I tell myself that, yeah.
No, you were.
Um,
You were.
I
I've watched you struggle, and that's the thing. Like, we are good people. Like, even I did horrible things.
yeah,
Horrible things. I was always a good person. The reason that you couldn't look me in the eyes when you came in, and the reason you didn't want to like look yourself in the mirror, was because you were a good person. That you were doing bad things that were out of line with what your morals and your values were. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that shame and guilt.
yeah, it was really tough.
Yeah.
That was really, really tough. And I owe amends to, I think, some other people at that place, though, too. I talked to Courtney the other day.
Did you?
Well, sort of. I texted her. I texted her to tell her to watch the one podcast,
Okay.
just to show that we started. And then I said that Matt and I started. That's why I think I told you that.
You didn't. I'm telling you,
I posted mine
you did
because
not tell
every
me.
time I send something to someone, I go, it's Matt and I, or my buddy Matt and
No,
I. Oh,
you didn't tell me. I had no idea.
oh, that's cool. So that was a surprise
It
to
was
see
a
him.
surprise. That's why I was like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Matt, dude.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad they were sitting here today because I felt like
Yeah.
I had Matt's back going through that.
It's really like, it's just bizarre to me, like, to even just be sitting here with both of you guys, and like you're both doing well, and
Yeah.
like it's just, and even though like there was still ups and downs after like the last time that I saw you guys, like, just, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just really cool.
And this is all in 8 months, like,
Yeah.
right? So it's like kind of odd to if like looking back on it when we were kind of doing all this or like spending this time together and putting this together, it felt like a long time, but
Yeah.
now it's just like boom, 8 months
Right.
gone, did this. So
Yeah,
it's
time
pretty wild.
flies, and it
It
just
is.
like keeps. I just like the more days that go by, like I even with I can't believe my daughter's 3 months old. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the more time, like, and the better life gets, and the more full life gets, like the quicker it goes. And like sometimes I just want to be like I can't believe it's been more than 6 years, since I got sober. Like, and it just flew.
Well, it's weird I met you 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. It'll be like 2 years in a month or so.
Yeah.
October.
It's wild.
That it was like they felt like yesterday that I was
It
sitting in
really
that
did.
office.
That's why I'm like, even with,
Um,
and Matt too, like having you, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
yeah. But so what else? How are you gonna fix Kensington? How do we?
I can't fix Kensington. I
You can
can
just
just,
hope that they walk into your treatment center.
no, not even that. I can just hope that like we make a difference in the people's lives out there. Like that, even if like they, as horrible as it sounds, but like even if they don't make it out, as far as like they don't get sober, like at least we're able to make them feel like humans.
What if you just kidnap them?
I wish I could.
I'm being
If it
serious.
were legal for me to kidnap people
And it's
there and
just
like bring them somewhere
like
and like
90
force
miles
this on
away.
them, I 100% would. Because there's like some of the most like they're so kind, they're so grateful when you're out there. They're so like, oh, it just breaks my heart because it's like it's a bunch of me's
Oh, for sure.
walking around, and like I know that when I was out there, I had no idea what my life would turn into, and like I didn't know the potential that I had, and like neither do these people, or like maybe they do, and like they had some time and then they fell back down, and then it's sometimes a lot harder to get back up after that. So
Of
like,
course. I don't know.
yeah,
Like,
it's just heartbreaking because I just look at everyone and I'm like, and I think about like what their life could be, and what they're going through out there, because like I've been through it, and it's just hard. So we're just out there to humanize them, is
Yeah,
what
but
it
you
comes
can't
down
work
to.
with like you know, politicians or mayor, governor,
And
anything like
kidnap
that.
people.
Yeah. No, but for real, I know it does sound crazy, but if I were to have been kidnapped and just put in a cabin where and this kind of happened to me, by the way.
You were kidnapped.
No, voluntarily, but
Okay.
when I wound up in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
my phone was taken away. I had no car. I was sitting on a porch in Georgia, and I remember just looking around, going, I have no idea where
Yeah.
northeast southwest is. I just looked around, and went, I guess I'm here,
Yeah, I guess I'm here.
and I have no access to. And there was one phone in the house I wasn't allowed to use, and I voluntarily was kind of
Yeah.
kidnapped. So, well, not kidnapped, but I wound up there, and it was. I wish that there was more places like that where like they just remove you from
From
everything,
everything.
and it's like now we're gonna give you a solution,
Hmm.
and it was insane. I had to walk everywhere, like at the whole house did. All 12 of us would
Yeah.
shuffle down the street to every meeting together, and
Yeah.
then work a low income job and just do this and go home, and still never given a phone.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know what was going on in the outside world. There was really not a TV there. It was awesome. Like
Yeah.
I love the
Sounds
place.
great.
It is.
It does.
And then there's also that like little break from society that you
Hmm.
get that other
That
people
sounds
kind of,
refreshing right now. Like I
yeah,
if it weren't for the fact that I would have to be away from my daughter, I would love to just like disappear in a cabin for a little bit.
yeah, yeah. But with people, you want to disappear with people. You don't want to disappear on your
Yeah.
own. The isolation sucks.
Yeah. Isolation does suck. But I don't know. I would be open to like 2 days alone. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Just 2 days.
yeah.
After that, I'd probably get depressed.
Well, it's awesome that you're able to help the people now. And if anyone ever needs like sponsees or sponsors,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely willing to do that.
I
Or
hear
speakers.
somebody's got some vacancies.
Yeah. Or speakers. I'll
Yeah.
definitely go speak. I got one on September 22nd. Another one
You want to
speaking
drive a
somewhere.
little bit? You can come out
How
to
far away
the
is it?
an hour.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
I go out to. I spoke somewhere that was like 40 minutes away recently.
Okay.
You know, it was really weird. I spoke at Today Incorporated. It was Matt's commitment, and not my favorite
Even
place to
that
speak.
Matt's commitment just like
Yeah.
makes
Oh,
me happy.
GSR. IGR.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Um, so yeah.
I know.
Um, I have my Thursday coffee commitment. He's at IGR. Um, but I went to Tank and I had to go there twice when I was like 17 years old. So it
Hmm.
was odd walking back into this place being like,
Yeah.
there's a
On the other side of
juvenile
things. Yeah.
in here.
Crazy.
And yeah, it's nuts to like kind of venture
It's like
back
I
to these
went to go.
places.
I spoke at RCA, and I was banned from like all RCAs across the board. So like when I went there to speak, it was just so bizarre because I'd gotten kicked out of 3 or 4 of them. It was. I mean, so like, and now here I am like going, and like it was at the point where they're like, you can't go to any of our facilities ever again. And then like I'm going in and speaking there.
See, that's awesome.
It's wild.
Yeah, and I'm trying to visualize someone like you sitting in an RCA and then running away because I can see it kind
Yeah.
of, but it's weird how
I got caught bringing drugs into a lot of them. The RCA Devon,
yeah,
they walked in and there was just heroin bags all over me, needle like because I snuck stuff in, and then I guess I got high and like fell out or something. I don't even know. But next thing I know, like there's I'm waking up with the staff all around me, and it's just
that's
crazy.
why I can never work at a treatment center. To watch somebody come in for a day one, round one detox,
Hmm.
it's to me, I called it myself a thing, but we're like not human beings. We
It's
don't really know
heartbreaking.
what we are. We're like we have these, I call them attachments, like on us, and we're just like these creatures that come in,
Hmm.
and we are a shell of the human being we are.
Yeah.
And thank God, majority of the world didn't have to see me like that, but some did, right?
Yeah.
And it is just this, you're, it's so chaotic, it's
Yeah.
insane, and yeah, it's nice to go back to places. But you look at, I sit down and I look at them and I go, that was me sitting here, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild to be going through this experience.
Yeah.
It
It's pretty
is.
cool.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
This is our first like sobriety
Is it?
type podcast. Yeah, I haven't really wanted to talk about this that much, truthfully.
Why?
because all of our other our other guests have been more like the last one was like ghosts and spirits and hauntings, and then we've
That's so
had
cool.
a diamond dealer come on.
Which I do have to come out to the restaurant.
Oh, you should.
Well, I am. My mom wants to do the
I'm there
tour.
all the time.
Okay.
So
All right, I'll text you because my mom keeps bringing it up. She's like, "When am I going to go do the ghost tour?"
I'll give it to you. I'll do the ghost tour, but there's still this bottle sitting by one of the computers, and it's a Grace Project bottle. Yeah. So I see it every time I type on the computer.
You should come to we have a fundraiser in October.
Is it in Kensington?
No, it's at La Stalla.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, when is it?
I think it's October 5th.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
October
super
5th.
soon. Matt,
Yeah.
you want to go to the Stala October 5th?
Sure.
All
All
right,
right.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you
Is
the
it like the gala? Like you give a donation and whatnot?
yeah, I mean if you want to, you
Yeah.
can give a
Well,
donation. But yeah, it's just like a little like lunch type thing. It's not like all fancy like the gala.
yeah, but it's at La Stala. I'll go and eat some
It's
Italian
so
food.
good. Love
Um,
La Stalla.
I don't think we should go to La Stala.
Have
It's
you never
really
been to
good.
La Stalla?
No.
Oh, it's
It's
so
like
good. My
7 minutes
baby
from
shower
here.
was there.
Oh,
That was
really?
my way of like thanking them because the last fundraiser
Why
we
do
did one
they do
last
that?
year. What?
Why does La Stala do it for you? Or is recovery connected to that by any chance?
No, so my uncle's friends with the owner.
Okay.
So they completely we did this fundraiser there last year and they comped everything. It was free for us.
What?
This year I mean, I didn't expect them to do it 2 years because it's not cheap. So this year they're giving us a discount, but my way of like thanking them for doing it, I was like, I'll have my baby shower there.
I feel like that person's got to be affected by recovery or like addiction somehow to
Yes.
maybe do it. Everyone is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not too taboo to talk about this now.
Yeah.
But like also, yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really wanted to talk about it that much on these. I don't want this to be
Could
that.
just be that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like Grace Project. Like originally it was, like the Kensington stuff, but like I very quickly was like, I don't want this to just be about addiction. So that's when we added our holiday program and our kid program because,
Oh yeah.
it's
But also talking about like I don't really want to talk about my experiences too much. Like I don't want it to sound like a war story.
yeah.
I don't like that, and I don't even like revisiting it that much. Like I used to think like, oh, it's cool. These are the wild things that I did out
Right.
there. Like I did more wild things than you. Like I don't want to
It's
sound like
not
that
though. It's the
because
story of hope.
I,
That's what you focus on.
yeah.
Even
Well,
through
then
this
I'll
conversation, that's very consistent with you is that you're solution based.
well then I will always stay in the solution. Like
Yeah.
when I share my story at a meeting, a rehab, whatever
Mhm.
it is, I try to say this is where I'm just like you. I did
Mhm.
probably the same thing, if not worse.
Yeah.
Maybe you're worse than me. I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you how I got to where I'm at today
Right.
because I'd rather stay in the solution any day because everyone has their own story
Yeah.
and I can't compare it.
Well, we're gonna get you out to
Yeah,
the
I'll go.
semi
Let me know.
runways.
Do you have speaking commitments?
I'm gonna see. I'll look at the schedule. What's today? Today's Sunday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
No. Yeah. Today's Sunday.
I'll look at the schedule tomorrow and see where I can
Yeah.
swap something out.
Yeah.
Because
Just
I
let
want
me
to
know.
get you in like this month.
Okay. Let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Cool. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of
I really
course.
appreciate it.
No problem.